Are you interested in turning your knowledge into a side income or new opportunities in the marketplace that you serve? I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations. I'm going to share with you a model that I've used for years, that I use both when I'm working for employers and when I'm not working for employers, um, or when I'm doing independent consulting or writing books or things like that. So, if you know a little bit about me, I have been doing business development and risk management for a number of years now, and I have subject matter expertise in areas including publishing, risk management, business processes. There's a bundle of what I do, and I have a website with my full name, justinhit.com, that tends to profile those things over the years. Now, it really depends. If I'm working for a Fortune 100 company, they tend not to want me to have these side things going on, but I know it's a critical part of my multiple streams of income and my personal development to be available from time to time to do consulting work. So, how do I structure that, and how can you structure that to be conducive to your long term growth? Number one, you want to establish credibility in your target field of interest. You're going to do this both by educating yourself, by participating in the marketplace, by being involved in trade organizations, by writing articles, by writing reports. In fact, I outline a method in my book, Establishing Instant Credibility, that's available in a link through the description here or via my website in general. Establishing credibility positions yourself as an expert because you can know a lot of things about topics, you can be an expert, but if you're not able to apply that knowledge, and others are not aware that you have that knowledge, then it's no different than not having the knowledge. So once you've established credibility, you're going to generate leads. By generating leads, you're going to gather lists of individuals who are interested in the topic that you are intelligent at or that you have experience with, and they also want to solve problems with that information. The reason you're generating this list is because you want to build up mentees, you want to build up potential clients, and you want to further your education by connecting with other experts in that field. Now, again, as I've recommended in other programs, we're not just focusing on the industries that we're in. I have peer relationships with people who are in manufacturing, in publishing, and other industries other than financial services, and also technology industries and construction industries, because I want the broad base of insights that I can convert into actions for my clients and results for them that they can bank on. Now, how do we do this? Well, again, we build these lists and then we interact with those lists. Now, I've chosen to develop newsletters and publications and such as that, but you can do this in different ways. You can speak at events, you can network, socialize. There's a lot of ways of doing it. It really depends on where you live and what you do. But the key is the only product you offer is a paid consultation. Now, you can create reports and books, and you can speak at events and get speaking fees. You can consult and get consulting fees. But the thing that opens the door, the initial sale, is going to be some kind of resource that you can deliver without a lot of overhead. And for me, that's getting on the phone and having a conversation with somebody. So I always offer a way for you to ask questions, which puts you on a list, and then my response is an answer to your question, but then an offer for you to do a paid consultation. Now, my paid consultations are 15 minutes on the phone. There may be 2 or 3 hours that I spend in advance. There might be an hour or so that I spend afterwards, but you and I will be on the phone after communicating by email or fax, and we'll address your challenges. We'll talk about the problems you have, the situation you're in, the outcomes that you desire. We might outline an action plan. I might ask clarification questions, but that consultation is a low overhead activity that I can provide to a potential client with little or no overhead. It is essentially, if the money shows up in my bank account, you go on the calendar. If you're on the calendar, I show up on the call and answer your questions. Now, it's a paid consultation. A paid consultation is not ideal for everybody that I interact with, so I do offer what we call group consultations, where the scheduling software that I use or my assistant will schedule like 4 or 5 people on a group call, and you can hear the questions other people are asking. Those calls are meant for generic questions. They're meant for clarification. They're meant for asking questions about my articles, my books, my materials, and I record those, and that becomes fodder for future content. But again, if you want specific answers, specific information, you want me to look into your situation, then it's a paid consultation. Now, do I offer more expensive or more including activities? I certainly do. But if I'm engaged with a private client that has some kind of restriction, like a non disclosure restriction or a conflict of interest statement or something that prevents me from doing a 3 week project for somebody, then the paid consultation gives me the opportunity to refer that individual to somebody in my peer network because I'm not going to be able to commit the time, dedicate the effort. Now, as I've talked about in other programs, still employers get all freaked out because I got a single member LLC. I used to have a C corp, and I've got staff actually writing articles and editing articles and doing webmaster work, and I've got all this stuff going on. But it didn't start out that way. And this support system is actually and quite transparently building my network so that when one career opportunity ends or one job ends, I have something else to do afterwards. In order for me to maintain engagement in my marketplace, I don't have the time to troll LinkedIn. I don't have the time to be on social media. I don't have the time to do anything other than produce content for clients or to deliver services for clients or otherwise write materials around the topics of my subject matter expertise. So I'll go off and go to a training program, and then I'll write a few articles as I'm digesting that information that specifically applies to people I have in mind, such as a Dream 100 list, and that's a list of 100 people that I like to work with: hiring managers, recruiters, subject matter experts, other people I'd like to connect with. I write content for those people, publish it in a podcast, publish it as a blog article, publish it as something else. Now, you don't have to go this far into it, but this is what works for me. The key is, from a consulting mindset, is that you are an independent individual, and if someone's going to take up your time to ask you questions and you're going to give them a service as an answer, then they're going to pay for it in some kind of consultation. Now, if you're working with me directly, we could figure out what tools you can use, and there's a bunch of different platforms to use. But ultimately, it's the person clicks a link, they schedule an appointment, they give you money, they show up on your calendar. You meet with them after they fill out an assessment or some kind of onboarding, and then you determine whether or not you're a good match by helping them as much as you can on that call. And then if they need additional help and support that's more labor intensive, you'd write up a statement of work or some kind of proposal. Okay, so this is the basic model. I don't know why so many people are trying to write courses or write ebooks or create books in the bookstore or doing other things that procrastinate. This is the most simple model. And so you can see this model in how it works by going to the website www.insidestrategicrelations.com. That's the website for this podcast, and you'll see past podcast episodes, you'll see articles, you'll see our blog posts. But if you pay close attention, there's always an opportunity for you to get a mini course or to get an email series or to opt in or to ask questions. When you ask questions, those put you on a list, and you will get an answer, which could be a link to other content on the same topic. It could be, a few qualification questions. And then ultimately, I say, look, if you like to schedule a paid consultation, here's the link. Here's how you get started. See, I don't have to build a landing page and a sales funnel and a special course when I have these little drop-ins in places. Now, I write my content because I don't have an opportunity to speak to large groups. I live in a very rural area, and because I don't get the opportunity to speak to large groups like I used to, I find the writing works really well. And then I've always followed the prospect newsletter model. Now, you might be asking, can I make big money doing this? Can I make a lot of money doing paid consultations? Yes, paid consultations will take 2 or 3 hours. You might have 15 minutes to an hour on the phone with somebody, but it will take time before the call, will take time after the call, and I will say no, you will not make a good living doing paid consultations, because even though my paid consultation is $397 at the time of this recording for a 15-minute session, if you tally up the time and materials involved, I'm spending that much. Not only to get somebody on the phone, because you have a cost to acquire a customer, but also the back and forth interaction. So the last piece I want to leave you with is, just because you got a consultation doesn't mean it ends there. They may not be ready to engage right then and there on a consulting project, or to hire you for a new position, or to consider you as a candidate for an open position. So you have to follow up. So you've gotten them to do a paid consultation. There needs to be some means of follow up. Now, I choose the prospect newsletter, which then spawned off actually having real paid newsletters. But the key is, when they talk to you on the phone, you may have solved their immediate need, but you may not have in, convinced them that you're the exact person. So that's why I talked about instant credibility. You want to build the credibility. Very often, when I have a good connection with a paid consultation client, I will say, hey, it was great chatting with you. Here's a copy of my special report that covers the topic you're looking at. Here's a copy of my book, most recent book. Oh, here's some testimonials from previous clients. And by the way, I'm available for projects on this date, or these types of projects. That way, I'm following up with a kit. And then I'm immediately going to put the person on my paid newsletters if that's something they're interested in. I will gift them a subscription. Now, I've pulled away the curtain and given you everything behind the scenes. All of these points are required. So I've shown you what's going on behind the scenes, and you can see some of the evidence when you go to the website. And there's a link periodically for click and schedule a paid consultation. There's a link for join a group coaching call. All of these things are setting up 5 figures and 6-figure deals. So when I first got my position at Wells Fargo, I actually gave the hiring manager the hiring manager found me through a recruiter. The recruiter was on my email list, probably this newsletter here. I got to talk to the recruiter, who let me know a position was open. I researched who the hiring manager was. I FedExed a copy of my book along with my resume, my one of my bookstore books, along with my resume. Got interviewed, so the consultation was the interview, and then was hired. I ended up working with Wells Fargo for almost 10 years because it was a great opportunity. And then within the organization, I wrote internal papers. I wrote papers for publication, which some of them you can see on my website, which I then gave copies to senior level executives. When a senior level executive would contact me and ask me something that was outside the scope of my work, which was not covered by a non-disclosure or not covered by a non-compete, I might go do that homework on my own time and write something up for them. I reviewed a consent order and wrote up a finding on that consent order and provided it no charge to the organization, so that it can open other opportunities up while I was working at the organization. So what I've shared with you here today, I know a lot of folks get confused because I'm mixing the high income professional with the entrepreneur. I want you to have a producer mindset. I want you to create artifacts from all the evidence you have about your subject matter expertise, then position yourself in a marketplace, giving people the opportunity to ask you questions, not to pick your brain, but to pay you money to ask you questions, unless you get a group of people together in which you can record the presentation. It is a little bit more work on your part, but it ultimately creates for you more evidence that you know what you're talking about, and connects you with more people in a passive way. So the email newsletter is running whether or not I'm sleeping or I'm awake, because somebody can opt into it and get the email newsletter sent to their email box. The books, the reports, they're on Amazon whether or not I'm on Amazon. The key of what I'm sharing here is that you don't have to create those products first. You can do the paid consultations. That's a very low overhead. And then ultimately, from the paid consultation, you write proposals, statements of work, um, pitch letters, whatever is necessary to get the follow up so that you get the opportunity. All of these things together build business relationships, because we're not trying to reach a mass audience. We're trying to reach the 5, 10, or even 100 target individuals in a marketplace who have the money to hire you, that have the need for what it is that you offer, and have a desire to engage. Paying for a consultation is a desire to engage. I've done paid consultations, thousands and thousands of paid consultations. And I always found that that engagement either solves the immediate problem or solves a small problem that sets the person up for a consultation. I've been able to turn down a large number of long term assignments because I was already engaged with 3 or 4 key private clients. I'm not looking to add a bunch of staff. And there are drawbacks to this. When you position yourself as an expert, people want to hire you. And if your expertise is not available, I always just refer them to somebody in my network who reciprocally would refer people to me, so that at least the customer gets taken care of. I stay in the loop because I stay relevant. So I hope this has been helpful to you, because a lot of folks have been asking, how do they increase their income? How do they increase their reach? How to increase their credibility and influence in a marketplace? And I just gave you a mini course on this information. But you know what? You might be saying, well, Justin, if this is so valuable, why would you share it? Well, again, I also gave you a demonstration of what I'm doing, because at the end of this, I'll say, look, if you have any questions or you need some help setting up yourself as a recognized expert and delivering consulting clients so that you can supplement your income or even make a career of this, then visit www.insidestrategicrelations.com. Visit the contact page and ask your questions. I would love to answer your questions. I'm Justin Hitt. I've got more than 20 years of experience in this, and this proven system that I've shared with you right now is the key. It really is the key, because you'll ask your question. If you need more information or you want help getting something going, you'll engage with me because I've given you so much up front. I've given you so much value. But the secret is, I've given you value within a structure that also gives me value. I'm not trying to be a thought leader. I'm not trying to be an influencer. I'm not trying to be a YouTube creator. I'm simply putting out feelers to targeted individuals who are highly likely to benefit from what I have to offer. And again, that's what it's about here. Building business relationships, transforming connections and influence into outcomes and opportunity. I hope you'll ask questions if you have any. Otherwise, I hope you'll use what we do here today. And I'd love to hear about your successes. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations.